And I thought again. I was like, oh God, the whole, what can I do? What can I go back to tell myself? What kind of moves to become a billionaire? And the answer is, I wouldn't even know because I'm not there yet anyway. So really and truly, I suppose that there is a saying that the journey is the destination. And it sounds a bit corny. But really and truly, I can't think of what I would change because everything that I've gone through is sort of what has molded me to become who I am today.
Hi, my name is Asha.
Hey, it's Cage.
In life, we're faced with big decisions. With big decisions come big risks. Who better to speak about it than Francis Gyechie, the head of Petite Scholars?
Well, I'm head of finance, really. My wife is the principal. Just a little clarification, yeah.
Oh, and also his name is Kojak. We will touch on that later. Welcome.
Thank you, Asha.
So if you can give us like a brief intro about yourself.
My name is Francis Kojak Gyechie. I moved to Ghana. I moved back home, shall we say, about 10 years ago with my wife, my family of 2 at the time to set up Petite Scholars. We started off as a nursery school and has evolved slowly into a primary school. And the whole ethos behind that was to create something that's quite different from, shall we say, conventional education. So we're trying to make learning fun for children and in anything they want to do. So whatever they want to do, they can be without sort of feeling constrained to science in this method or maths in that method and that sense. So, yeah.
And you went to Brunel University.
I did.
I applied there, by the way.
Yeah, this is a long time ago. We're talking some 25 years ago. Yeah, that's a long time.
25.
Yeah, but are we talking about Brunel? Are we really talking
We can. University days. We're talking about university.
I thought we were just going back 10 years or 15 years to the school that we set up. I didn't know we're going back into my whole...
We can.
But yeah, I went to Brunel from the... was it 2001 to about 2005. Okay. Studied IT. I mean, how can I say... it was an interesting experience, is all I have to say.
And from studying IT at Brunel, what impacted, outside of wanting to change pedagogy and how education was given to children, what made you and your wife want to move to Ghana and actually go into education? Because you studied IT. There's a bit of a disconnect there, but I know there's a cool story behind it. It's a
total disconnect because what you find is a lot of people who go to university, typically, I don't know what the percentage is, but none of them find a job or do in their career what they actually studied for at university. Typically what you get. So if you're not an architect or a doctor or maybe a lawyer, maybe most people who would go and study something in school end up going into a career that's got probably nothing to do with their degree. So there was that element that we kind of discussed, and it was coming to Ghana and what is it that you can sort of impart children with, or kids, to just make them believe that, you can transform an idea into reality. And the whole point of doing that is to just try and try and try again. Make a mistake. Yeah, you got it wrong this time, but don't let that sort of stop you. Just keep trying, and keep taking risks if you like. And somewhere along the line, it might stick. It might stick the first time, or it might stick the 10th time, but just don't stop persevering. If that makes any sense. Does that make any sense? A lot of people say these.
And sometimes we don't talk about the risks that, yes, there are risks that come with trying, but also there are risks that come with just existing. And that brings me to 46B. A little birdie told me that you found yourself in the Sahara Desert somewhere in like 2006.
Yeah.
Was it?
2008. It's a long story. Oh, it's not really. We were flying from Accra to London on one of, if I'm going to expose them, Ghana Airways. They're one of their last few flights. I heard they're coming back, so. And there was a problem with the flight. It was delayed about 4 hours before we took off from Kotoka. And on the flight, about 2 hours in, we heard the pilot saying something about there's a problem and, everybody stay. I was half asleep. Everybody sort of be calm. The plane was sort of shaking a bit. It wasn't regular turbulence. So it was a bit scary, but I was asleep. So I was kind of like semi-dozed off. It was quite tired. So at some point, the pilot was like, oh no, we have to make an emergency landing because there's a problem somewhere. And he tried to be as reassuring as possible. Then everyone in the plane, Ghanaians started screaming, praying, Yame, God. Oh, Jesus. There was a lot of that going on, but I was still kind of half asleep. So I was kind of disoriented until all I felt was like the plane shaking. It had literally just hit the tarmac. Well, it wasn't a tarmac. It was just sand. We were in the middle of the Sahara Desert somewhere in Algeria. It was like a derelict, very run-down airstrip in the middle of Algeria somewhere. So the plane it did crash land, but it was very rough crash landing in the middle of the Sahara Desert. And we were there for about 13 hours or so. Another plane came from Italy to pick us up, to take us to London. So it's not as dramatic as initially sounded, but then we did think this was it. We're going to die.
On a flight, all I have to hear is emergency, and I'm lying on the floor.
I mean, typically, I still feel like I shouldn't be here. This is not.
No,
I'm here for that. Kind of gave me thinking about it now. It probably gave me some kind of renewed purpose. Like wow, like this. You're not supposed to be here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
This. You could just be someone. They're talking about you. You're in the newspapers and. That's it. So yeah, it's quite.
And Francis, can you speak more into how that event gave you a renewed vigor in your life? I'm really keen to understand.
Well, again, yeah. I mean, this is what I was talking about earlier when I said, if you're not supposed to be here, then you being here means that you can just try sort of everything. There's no, oh no, I don't want to do that because they might fail. Oh no, I don't want to do that because, it's not really for me. Whatever. It's like, try it. If you're interested in doing it, just go ahead and do it, because for all you know, tomorrow you might not be here. Cause it's like, you could be dead. It's how I see it. So you shouldn't even be here. You should be dead. So whatever you're going to do, just attempt. If you fail, at least you're not dead. So you carry on, kind of thing. That's kind of the mentality behind most of my ways of doing things, if you like.
And did you find that little things that would upset you previously, people cutting in front, trotros cutting in front of you, it didn't annoy you?
It's like a new lease of life. It's like a trotro driver will literally cut me up like.
It's like, sure, go ahead.
Honestly, no, seriously, that's actually true. Honestly, like little things that would irk me. Like you have family members that would call you and pray for you, that God will bless you with more money so you can give me money, kind of thing. And I'll be like, yes, pray hard. I forgot to bless me. Pray hard. Normally I'll get vexed with that kind of stuff. I'll be upset, like, why should God bless me? Why shouldn't God bless you, kind of thing? And I'll just go off on a rant and start insulting them or something. But there's, like, you shouldn't be here, technically. So if you're not here and you are here, then make the most of it. Like, you understand? Don't let the little things that's going to bother you. If I get into an argument with somebody, I'll be quick to apologize. Oh, I'm sorry, even if I'm in the wrong. Like, it's no big deal, kind of thing. Just enjoy yourself. Like, make jokes out of most situations and just try and enjoy yourself, because you shouldn't be here. Technically, it's the mindset. That's he's ringing in the back of my head. If that makes any sense.
And if you could tie risk into like your move and setting up a school. And what was that like for you?
Well, it was
starting a family.
Yeah, well, the family, the family was sort of just, it goes with the territory. Right. You understand? It came about. But then, in terms of taking risks, I was never really a business person to start with. I wouldn't have called myself an entrepreneur at that time. I had a job. I was an IT engineer working for Sky in the UK. It was quite cushy, comfortable. And at that time anyway, but then I thought I wanted more. I wanted to move to Ghana. Like, I didn't really like living in the UK. And my wife, who was born and raised in the UK, she's Ghanaian, but never lived in Ghana before, was like, okay, well, this Ghana sounds a bit interesting, isn't it? Let me see what's going on.
Oh, she'd never been here.
She'd been here, but not really lived here. Okay. You understand? She'd come for your Christmas, 2-3 weeks, get to December, go and chill for it and go back.
Okay.
She'd never really, so this 10 years we've been here is her longest stretch being in Ghana, and she likes Ghana. She doesn't want to move back. Well, Not yet, anyway.
I understand.
So that's been a blessing in that sense. But in terms of starting the school, we were looking for something we could do in Ghana that was sort of foolproof, if you like.
Okay.
Like in terms of business, but then something that we would also be passionate about. So I suggested starting sort of like what do you call it? Death home, if you like. You know, like, you know, when people died and you do the whole, we're going to bring in horse and carriage to take the funerals, and we'll do the embalming and all of that. Like, people die every day in Ghana. This is a winning business. But then it's a bit morbid, and it's really like, oh, you're dealing with people who are sad all the time. It's like, yeah, you get money, but then you want to be sad rich or happy rich. So we thought, no, then what's the next thing after that is like children and births and something to do with that. And if you're going to go into that, then it could be a very nice nursery that's just a place where children come and enjoy themselves and just enjoy learning, being in that environment kind of thing. So that's what sort of influenced that decision. And we set up Petite Scholars. And it's been a labor of love. I'll tell you that. It's been quite arduous, but it's very fulfilling. Seeing the children now who've grown up and all the things that they're doing is some of the very, very awesome.
So, Francis, we're going to touch again on sort of your move and what that looked like and the risk behind it. Because, yeah, as you've said, you know, moves are a lot. Like, moving country is hard.
No, it's very hard, especially when you're trying to move from the UK to Ghana with your wife who has never lived in Ghana before, and she doesn't understand the way. I grew up in Ghana, so it was coming back home. Whereas for her, she's exploring a new country, so it was more like having to convince her. I actually came to Ghana myself to set up a real estate company with two of my friends, and we did one good deal. Fantastic. We got paid. We were like, yeah, come on, this is awesome. And then literally it crashed. Nothing again happened for another year. I was trying to send money back to London to pay bills. And I think the CD to the pound was like 3-1 at that time. So that was quite difficult. So I went back to London to go and work again while we restructured. And then we decided on what we're going to come and do in Ghana. And we said, we're going to go and come and open up a school. It's going to be different. We're going to educate children differently. Everything is going to be more about fun, learning. And that was the basis behind that. And that was our sort of our USP or our niche to start.
And do you think like the biggest risk was financial, or?
The biggest risk was financial, because you need money, you need working capital, you need a venue, you need to pay big rent in Ghana. Yeah. But we took that risk because even if we're like, oh, listen, if you fail, what's going to happen? If it fails, you're not going to die. You know, we shouldn't be here, remember? And also, we had the security of, well, we don't want to go back to the UK and go and get a job and go and work or go and start a new business in the UK kind of thing. I've already come to Ghana and I've failed. Does that make sense? So I've gone back, readjusted, and I kind of know what you have to do to sort of keep going, if that makes any sense. It's just a perseverance and just keep. Every day, you keep knocking on the door, you're sort of pushing a bit. One day, the door will open in that sense. So you keep trying. You don't just walk away with your failures, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say, how did you and your wife navigate operating in this environment? It's very different to the UK in terms of business practices, people's MO in general. How did you navigate that process?
Well, when we first moved to Ghana, my wife wanted to tear her hair out. Because first thing was, she talks very fast and she has a very strong English accent. And she says this a lot of the time. So she says a lot of the time, but she says it very fast. So when she's talking to like teachers or she's doing an interview, people will be looking at her like that. Madam, please, I don't understand. So the language barrier, even though it's English, was a problem because communication wasn't as flowy. But then she needed to understand that the people that she's communicating with are actually doing very well, because you're communicating with people who English is like their third or fourth language. So these people speak Twi and Ga very, very well. And then they learned English as sort of like a third language. And you're coming with your English from the UK. And there's this sort of, I said this to them and they didn't get it the first time, but that's not the case, you need to adapt. You need to slow down how you teach, how you speak. Maybe you should start learning Twi and Ga, and then saying some things in Twi and Ga to communicate. It's you who have come to this country, so it's for you to rather adapt and integrate in that sense. So that was the main lesson that she had to learn coming back to Ghana, and that worked very well in that sense. It's just a communication factor and integrating into and adapting into her new environment. It's very important. Yeah.
And I'll say my observation living here so far is it's a more relaxed work culture versus the UK. How did you guys control for that as well, in terms of making sure people were on task and motivated? And
to be honest, that is more a problem that we're having now than when we started. So when we started, it was more like, everything is fun here, guys. We're setting up an environment where it's all colorful and there's music and children are coming here to dance and play and play with paint and Play-Doh and mud and enjoy themselves. So just join them. Just bring out your inner child and just enjoy yourself with the children. We're not trying to be all rigid. And as far as you're enjoying yourself and the work that you do, then everything else will follow from there. So one thing we did that was quite arduous was, interview after interview. I've gone through all the CVs right now. In the last 10 years, we've done over 2,300 interviews.
Wow.
And we have 55 staff members. So it wasn't really about employing the most qualified on paper. Okay. So even though I'm in education, I'm not all about how educated somebody is, if that makes any sense. So somebody comes with a strong CV, they have a master's in this, they have a PhD in that and in education, and you put them in front of children, and it's just flats, and it's just, they're trying to remember what they studied to apply it. Whereas you get somebody who just maybe has a diploma, and you put them in front of children, and they get down to the children's level, they're talking to the children, they engage in eye contact, and they're holding their hands, and they're just more engaging with the children. It's just not that same flatness, if you understand. And those are the people we want, because we can build from that.
yes.
So in that sense, that was another element that we had to learn for us. It's the people who have a passion for working with children and having that patience and that sort of temperament, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah.
And when you started Petite Scholars, had you had your children already?
No, there were two of them at the time. So my daughter was a bit older, and my son was one of the guinea pigs. He started through, and he's doing very well. So
amazing. And do you think that helped with sort of how you lead?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, like we used to bring the kids over, all my nephews and nieces come over, just come and play and run around. And we use that sort of to see what the risk factors were, where all the hazards are. And, this edge of this staircase is a bit too sharp. Maybe you want to smoothing it and that, all of that. So everything was sort of tried and tested before we rolled out. It's very important that you do that.
Yeah. And Francis, I would say, between managing a household, a school, some of your other outside business interests, who is your advisor? How do you keep it all together? Have you got like a financial coach? Have you got a professional coach? Break down that structure.
I don't have a mentor per se.
Okay.
But I do surround myself, like all my friends are quite go-getters. They're all, we sit down and we're always talking about, other than the jokes, we all have a laugh around, but we're always talking about something progressive of what we can do, how we can make an impact in something. It can be anything. You understand? Even if you're going on a holiday or something, it's like, okay, what value can you add? What can you bring to the table that would enhance whatever motive you're trying to achieve in that sense? So that is the sort of the mindset you have to keep. And that is how I get by. So really and truly, if I come here and I'm having a conversation with you, for example, about my school or what challenges I'm facing, you would automatically be okay. So you start thinking about solutions or already from the conversation. So even though you want to make fun of me or laugh about something else, there's still in the back of your mind, oh no, but maybe you can do this, maybe you can do that, and that might help. So there's always something to learn from each other. So it's more sort of the company you keep rather than going to get a financial mentor and always, everybody has their way of doing things. But for me personally, it's just myself and my immediate circle, really, if you like.
Community is a massive thing for me as well. So
massive.
I definitely echo that in terms of the friends I have around me when it comes to coaching me on certain financial matters or personal matters. So I definitely agree with you on that. Community matters.
Yeah. The company you keep matters.
It matters massively.
Yeah. Especially when you're on a certain trajectory and trying to get somewhere. It's very important. For me, I also moved back from the UK to Ghana last year. And I think...
How's it been?
Francis, it's hard. It's not easy. Like integrating into Ghana, even though I lived here for 18 years of my life. So I'm Ghanaian, but then I also lived away for 18 years.
But coming back is like, you're not coming back by yourself. You're coming back with your kids.
Like
and it's like, how are they going to integrate? How are they going to find it?
It's a whole new world.
But how's it been? Huh?
It's been hard. It's hard, Francis. It's difficult. But then I think what brings, clarity to everything is now coming into my job, sort of meeting new people, making new friends, and not necessarily new friends, but also meeting old friends in a new capacity. And I think that is important. I mean, things change, people change all the time, but I think I'm just honing in on sort of having advisory, and it's important to keep the right people around you, especially when you want to go somewhere, right?
And I think the thing to note is that when we say it's difficult, nothing worthwhile is easy. So when you find yourself in difficulty, you should sort of think of it as a sort of a stress test. You shouldn't use that as an excuse to quit, no matter how hard it gets. So sort of like the harder it gets, the more the rewards. You have to believe that in your journey.
Francis would do is school me. One thing you always do is teach me a lesson. Francis will be like, oh, you can see the silver lining.
There's always a silver lining. There's always a silver lining. Unless you don't believe in what you're doing. And if you don't believe in what you're doing, then you shouldn't have started in the first place. So that's very important. You understand?
I can agree with that. I can agree with that.
And I want to ask you, how have you sort of maintained your principles and your morality through some of the challenges you've probably faced while you've been here?
That's very easy. I've got kids who will check you at every given. These kids of today, I've got a 6-year-old, a 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 14-year-old. And they will hold you accountable for everything.
We were talking about this today.
I'm talking about...
That sounds terrifying.
For everything. It is quite terrifying, to be honest. They're different from when you were a child or when you were a child. These new kids of today, they know a lot. I wouldn't say they know everything, but they research. They have ChatGPT. So back in the days, for example, when you would get into an argument in 1990, actually, I don't know how old you are, but in 2003, for example, when there was no internet, you have an argument about something, say football scores or something, and you would leave the argument hanging while you went to go and verify. So you go and verify, you call an uncle or you go on the internet or something. And then you find out, okay, this guy was right. Whereas today is that, okay, in the middle of the argument, ChatGPT, what is the capital of, and who was the first person to, what's your, and then you start celebrating. So information is readily available now. So these kids will always hold you accountable. You can't give an instruction or set a principle and go against it yourself. Your kids will come back and hold you accountable. They'll tighten you up. In this day and age, they're very, very hot on that kind of stuff. So to go back to your question, I don't have the opportunity to miss, if you understand. They will get you. That's it. So you have to, and also if you're trying to shape lives, you kind of have to lead by example anyway. You can't be fake in your resolve. You understand? You can't say, oh, let's do this, and you can't lie, and don't tell lies when, or don't snitch. One thing I have in my house is a snitching culture where I've got 3 sons who are always trying to get each other in trouble. And as much as I promote telling the truth and being open and honest, I do not like, for example, somebody has done something, spilled something, and his brother comes, oh, Daddy, can you believe that this person went and spilled that, and he tried to hide it under the carpet. It's like, okay, yeah, that was naughty, but you don't need to be a snitch. I don't really like this snitching culture. So there has to be a balance there. Understood. So then when I go and, for example, I'm telling my wife about something on the children, they'll be like, Daddy, but why are you snitching? Do you understand? I was like, oh, okay, no, it's not really snitching. It's with the parents. So it's not with the law in this house. But then it's still snitching in their eyes. So it's like, you don't have, whatever you're preaching or whatever you're trying to set, you have to lead by that example. It's so important. So that's,
It's very important. Cage, that's yet to come for you. Soon come.
I think you guys are making me want to become a dink every day.
Children are hard.
Yeah, they are. They are.
They keep you in check. That is very true. I was just telling
definitely
Paige today about my daughter. She had birthdays coming up. And a couple of weeks ago, she was like, oh, mommy, I want to take my friends to the beach for my birthday. So I'm like, yeah, whatever, fine. Today, she's like, oh, I made an invitation card and I've sent it to my friends. So can you just kind of like message their parents and let them know that we're going to the beach on Saturday? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I did say yes to that a couple of weeks ago.
Got him.
So I kind of have to do this. I was hoping we just cut a cake, eat some jollof, and call it a day. But
now you're on the beach.
It looks like, So
do you know which beach?
Big Blue.
Okay.
Yeah. So kids will hold you accountable. And as I agree with you. You have to, if you're raising people, you have to
set the standards.
Set the standards. There's a specific moral code that you're going by. And I think that also redefines sort of risk beyond the finances, beyond,
But there's also when you have children who are looking up to you and like you are the guy, if you like, and you set the standard and you break that, the disappointment in their eyes, in their actions, like, I was looking up to you. You were supposed to be the, it's really, even like trivial things. Like, I said I was going to take you to the barbers or to go to the shops to go and buy some sweets. And I changed my mind. You know what? I'm tired. I don't want to. But you said you said you should be a man of your word. You said, you get that. The kids will really like they'll hold you to account. It's very interesting.
That's really positive.
Yeah.
Don't be scared, though.
Yeah, no thanks.
So we can talk about managing a multiple people home.
Yeah.
You have a wife, you've got kids, and obviously managing multiple companies. I mean, is Gyechie still running? And can you tell me a bit more about that?
So it's funny that you should talk about running a multiple people home and a multiple people business in terms of you have to manage people. And in terms of employees, I wouldn't compare them to children in that sense. But for everything to be successful, you have to have processes and procedures. It's not just like a one fix and there's a problem and then you fix that problem. There should be a process to how you go about things and that's I'm not a very organized person already.
Right.
So if you come into my bedroom, it's tidy, it's clean, but it's not tidy. It's things all over the place.
Right.
So that's sort of in my mind. I have a lot of ideas all swimming around, but then the way to process and procedurize things to streamline the way I operate is the only way. So for example, in my house, there has to be a chart on the wall and everybody goes by that chart. So if you've woken up, you've made your bed, you've brushed your teeth, you've bathed, you've had breakfast, then you can come and ask me for a device or to go and play football. Do you understand? If you haven't done those things, don't come to, and it's there for you to see. So everybody knows the rules and don't try and go against the rules. So if you wake up in the morning, you haven't brushed your teeth and I see you walking around the house with a lollipop, then you're going to get punished. It's just that simple. And the same thing with the business. If you are a teacher and you know that you're supposed to be here at this time. I'm not trying to say that we're even rigid on times, like you're late, you came in, you're supposed to come in at 8:00 and it's 8:10 and you're now walking in. It's not even like that, because if you're passionate about what you do, then technically people are late sometimes. There's things that happen from time to time. So we try to be flexible in that sense, but we create procedures and processes to make sure that as far as everybody understands the process, then we have a way to move. If that makes sense.
And it's interesting that you talk about like processes and plans. I'm somebody who does not like to plan. I'll plan for tomorrow.
It's important. Long term.
But it's so important, to plan for, especially when you have kids. I mean, yeah, financial planning. And I think that is a major part.
It goes back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of taking risks. So, for example, if you haven't planned, which I wasn't very good at planning, it was my wife who was a very good planner, then there's always that element of uncertainty that leads to anxiety, which is like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then you find yourself doing last minute stuff and getting by. But then if you actually sit down and put things onto paper or just on your phone, for example. So you have sort of a skeleton or a structure of what you're trying to achieve. It can be anything in business, finances, whatever, even a holiday or your bills for the month. Once you've put it onto paper, it kind of takes away that.
It takes shape.
Yeah, it starts to take shape, and then from there you can go further and then add value to your plans and take things away or or add or subtract as per how you want to take it. So it's not easy, but then it's easier to sort of shape your journey when you have something written down or a plan or something that you can
you
execute.
Have a New Year's plan. What's the top of your New Year's plan?
I didn't actually have a New Year's plan. Mine was basically just to be as fit and healthy as possible. But I didn't join the gym. I've been working out before. I tried to do a workout every week, but then I don't really like working out. But then it's something that you have to do. It's one of the questions I wanted to ask God. Like, why is it that you can't just eat cheesecakes and buffets and then still have a six pack and still be in shape? But my New Year's plan was to just be as fit and healthy as I could be. It's that simple. Everything else will follow from there.
Cage and I have a bet on for the end of February. Project Lose the Beaufords. So there's 250 pounds on the line for the end of February. To see
who's lost the most.
Who's lost the most. And I think I've been to the gym maybe 3 times.
It's not even about the gym.
Just in there.
It's not, is it the gym that makes you lose weight, or is it the food that you eat that makes you?
Because I would eat a salad once a day, maybe a little crouton here and there.
A little crouton.
Yeah, but I'm still gaining weight. So I think there's something about that.
It's not
for sure.
It's not the salad.
There's something around that.
There's something else.
250 pounds. Get ready, Cage. I'm coming for it.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my money.
On that note, what are your thoughts around AI and the educational system?
Where do I start? AI is a fantastic tool, but we should be very careful to use it as a tool, because I believe that it's slowly, it's only just come about. So in the next sort of 10, 20 years, AI will make human beings dumber, unfortunately. It's going to take away a lot of jobs that we would do typically, maybe plumbing and a few others, but things like architecture, law, doctors, all of those jobs are going to go to AI very soon. So what's going to happen is that it's literally like the movies, like if you've seen Terminator or The Matrix, whereby children in the future are not going to learn how to read or write. It's like, take your phone, email this person that I'll be here at this time, or switch on the hot water, or turn the fan on in the bedroom before I get there, or something. And so we won't really do anything ourselves anymore. So the computers, everything will be automated, and that is probably when the computers will probably decide that we're too stupid to manage ourselves, and they're gonna take over somehow. I'm just being a sci-fi boffin, but basically it's scary because children of today, especially in schools, they don't have any sort of impetus to read or write. Like their reading and writing, shall we say, stamina is very poor compared to when we were children, because there's these screens right now where everything is. My son will pick up YouTube, and then he'll be like, Paw Patrol season this, episode this. He's 3 years old. He can't even write. But he knows how to voice activatedly get what he needs on the screen. So then when it comes to writing or typing, there's no interest. He can just speak it and it'll work. So that's one of my fears about AI. So in my school, we're doing our best to sort of stick to those sort of tenets, those traditions of reading, writing, enjoying reading and writing. It's something that is going to be obsolete, in my opinion, anyway, in the next couple of decades. So we have to be wary. Yeah.
And my daughter recently started at one of the international schools in Ghana, and one thing I noticed is that they're heavy on textbooks still.
Yeah.
And for other schools, they're gearing away from textbooks and going more into iPads and, online learning as opposed to physical learning. Is that something that Petite Scholars is aware of and intentional about? Yes,
very much intentional about, not necessarily moving with the times as fast as everybody is keen to. Because, I'm not to say, like I said, AI is a tool. I come from an IT background, so I know how much computers make our lives easier. However, in the times that we're in, it's very important to keep certain tenets. Like reading and writing, for example, is very important. I'll give you an example. I don't know if you're in Ghana. Some months ago, when one of these streamers came to Ghana. No, not iShowSpeed, the other one, Senat or something.
Oh, okay.
He came to Ghana, and on the day he landed, the internet in the whole of Ghana went down. And I remember that day was ridiculous. You couldn't send any emails. You couldn't send WhatsApps. Nothing was working. And it just felt like everything had shut down.
Really?
No, you can't do anything. You can't send. And it got me thinking like, oh, so literally without this device over here, you can't do anything. And then now we're going to add AI to that, where you don't even have to write anything. You don't even have to type. You just pick up your phone and then you talk to your phone, and then it starts issuing commands and doing things for you.
Yeah.
It's quite scary, because once that gets shut down, there's no electricity. We have to go back to the Stone Age. Then we won't know how to do anything. Literally, we won't know how to cook, clean, change a car tire, all of these sort of
basic things. Yeah.
You know, what's the word I'm looking for?
Life skills.
Life skills, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll be gone with AI. So it's that's the only thing that scares me. But the good parts of it is, you know, it makes things easier, and you could just speak things into existence. It's fun for now.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but we should be cautious.
One of those consumer things.
Yeah.
Doom, 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 doom.
Yeah. The more people use it, the more
we become dumber.
Yeah, dangerous it gets.
Very, very.
For sure.
Dangerously dumb.
Yeah.
Dangerously dumb. Dangerously dumb. But it does have its, as you've pointed out, it's got its pros. And with the right prompts, it gives you great results. Like with the right prompts, you have to be somebody of substance behind that screen for it to, you know, give you the right prompts.
I don't doubt that at all. I don't. But I'm just saying that I'm looking a few decades into the future where, you know, someone who hasn't been born yet, who's going to be born in 2031. And then we're talking about by 2055 when he's like, 24 or something. And he wouldn't know where from the era where we were here before the internet came about. Well, some of us anyway. But, so I know the difference. Do you understand? Whereby there's people who, these children, they watch social media and they believe that's real life, that's reality.
Sure.
Do you understand? So we used to watch movies and we know that this is a movie. We know this is fiction. Whereas children of today are watching social media and they're seeing real people put their best foot forward, doing all kinds of things and then switching off the camera and then going back to their normal life. And these children see that what is portrayed on social media as real life, and they have a false perception of real life as a result, and that leads to all kinds of. I'm not even going to go into it, but yeah. So it's something we should be cautious about.
So Francis, burning question. If you could tell younger Francis, Kojak, if you could tell Kojak one thing, what would it be? Based on all your experiences.
Like one thing that I'll do differently, or what?
One thing you do differently, yes. One thing you do differently.
Funny enough, I was asked that question recently and I thought again. I was like, oh God, you know, the whole, what can I do? What can I go back to tell myself? What kind of moves to become a billionaire? And the answer is, I wouldn't even know because I'm not there yet anyway. So really and truly, I suppose that there is saying that the journey is the destination, and it sounds a bit corny, but really and truly I can't think of what I would change because everything that I've gone through is sort of what has molded me to become who I am today, and I'm quite comfortable with who I am today and where I'm going. So I can't say I would go and change anything because who knows what that would do that could deviate my trajectory, if that makes any sense. So if I had to go and tell myself anything, it would just be stay the course, trust your instincts, follow through. Those are simple, and just carry on. That's it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And what would you have said to yourself in terms of managing failure? Something that scares people?
Going back to, like I said, the plane crash is simply, if you fail, are you dead? Is that the end of your life? Is there no bouncing back? Could you not try again? I mean, yeah, you're going to feel that horrible feeling of failure. Like if I don't know, if back in the days, if you ran a race and you lose a race, you feel bad. You feel like, oh my God, that guy's better than me, or that guy's got there in a shorter time than me. So what can I do to be better? I go back and go and train again. And it's not the end of your life, failure. It's not death. If you're young enough or you are driven enough, you can always try again or try something different and see where you end up. But don't give up and wallow in self-pity. That's just the worst thing you should do. That's especially if there's nobody dead. Don't.
You literally had a life or death experience.
I literally had a life and death experience, exactly.
Yeah.
So
so your outlook on life is going to be...
Yeah, I mean, but then in that time, it didn't feel like a life or death experience. But then is looking back at it, it's like, oh my God, I shouldn't be here, is what I'm saying. But
yeah, I mean, but it was.
I mean, it was.
Like somebody saying crash landing.
I shouldn't be here. That's what
it could have been a crash, not a landing.
And I hadn't had at the time it happened, there was no sort of thought in my mind of starting a school or having children or... My wife, who was on a plane with me at the time.
Oh, she was there.
She was my girlfriend at the time.
Okay.
So I didn't even know where this relationship was going. And that time is like, that was sort of a big shaper in terms of perspective. So, So,
that was uncharted territory. Is that what they say?
In Algeria.
In Algeria. On a strip in the Sahara Desert.
So, yeah.
And Francis, one last thing. So we've spoken about so many interesting things during this conversation.
Yeah.
If you were to distill 3 points that you would give to your children as a guide, I know one of them will probably be don't fear failure, but what would the other two be?
Don't fear failure. Well, I mean, fear failure because, everyone fears failure, but do it anyway. It's more the advice because you will get that feeling as like you will fear the failure, but just walk through and get it done regardless. And if you fail, try again and keep fearing the failure and keep doing it again. It's the first one. The second one is be a good person. You understand? Don't be I don't know if I can say it, don't be a jerk. You understand? Just be a nice, good person. Try and help out, be kind as you would like somebody to be a good person or be a kind person to you if you are in need in that sense. So that's one thing about your individual character. And the third one would be try your best to enjoy yourself. You understand? Life is stressful as it can be. Like, try and take out the good moments and try and enjoy it. You understand? When it gets difficult, try and find little moments that gives you joy and try and enjoy the process and trust the process.
Thank you so much, Francis.
No worries at all.
Thank you very much.
And today has distilled a lot of the things that are important for us here at Celerey: education, access, community, information, and how we're trying to educate the people that come to see us as a platform and want to utilize our services. So it's been brilliant to have you. Thank you so much. And we're going to ask you one question before we leave. So if you had £1 million today, how would you spend it?
I definitely won't go to Las Vegas. How would I spend £1 million today?
That's too big of a risk.
Well, you see, this is it. My fear is that money becoming zero, or that 1 million becoming 202,000, and then I can't account for the 800 or 1,000. So my whole mindset would be, how do I make this £1 million 2 million, and then 3 million? So it'll be purely, we'll take some, maybe 50,000 to enjoy small, But then it won't be about buying any material goods or anything, going on flashy holidays or shoes or anything, or cars or anything like that. It'll be purely investment to see how much that money can grow.
Brilliant.
So
Brilliant.
if I have to set up 10 micro businesses with 100, and then see what happens, or take that bulk of that money and go and put it into something worthwhile and see how that grows, it will be purely about investment to make that money grow, building wealth.
That's a textbook. That's a Celerey answer.
Yeah.
That's a Celerey answer.
Okay. So, yeah.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Francis.
No worries.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And